What is going on, betting people? It's your boy UTA back with another video. I'm back with episode 3 of the Tea and Tackles podcast, the podcast where we talk football. We will give you some bets and predictions and talk a lot of shit in between. I'm joined with the usual people, Ziggy and Jaden. How are we, boys? All right?
Doing well.
Doing good, Jake.
Yeah, good week.
Decent week, yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah, been enjoying that international break once again.
We always do.
We always do.
Thank fuck it's finally over, man. I guess we'll get straight into it and go. Now that that's over, England, one of the only teams in the group to finish undefeated. Not really in spectacular fashion, but I suppose what expectations have we got for England in Germany next year in the Euros? We got high hopes. We'd settle for a quarterfinal, semi-finals. What are we thinking?
I think every tournament I try to keep my hopes down, but by the beginning of the tournament, I was like, yeah, it's coming home every time.
They somehow get you, don't they? Yeah, they get you. They build up your hopes.
Always.
I don't know how they do it.
Scrape that draw against North Macedonia, and Southgate said he learnt some valuable lessons from it. I fucking hope so. Oh my god,
we all did, man. Get him out.
Yeah,
that was number one.
I mean, I knew that was a lesson I took when I was like 4 years old. To get Southgate out, but absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's bad, man.
Tragic.
It is. It's tragic, but it looks on paper. I think it looks better than them performances, like you say. I think there was France and Romania. There might be someone else that was undefeated, but there weren't many teams that were undefeated in the whole tournament. I guess, I don't know, looking at the big boys, there's not many big teams that are kind of what they used to be. Like Germany are hosting, so they sort of had a bye, but they've been struggling. The Italians have scraped through, could have had a pen against Ukraine in the last minute, or Ukraine could have had a pen, sorry. So I guess what would you say is the best international teams right now? Like, who would you be most scared of, I guess? France?
I think
France.
I think it's got to be France. I think they're the ones to beat, definitely. But England are looking strong. That the depth of the squad is pretty good these days. Like we were talking about on last week's podcast in our 11, like it's pretty difficult to choose the top 11.
And we did get a little rotation. We asked for it, and we did get a little bit. People will probably put that to the reasoning why we struggled against Malta and drew with Macedonia. I won't put it that way myself. I just think Southgate tactically is not the right man for the job. It's tough though, isn't it? I guess I sent a little picture in the group which can pull up. What do you think the best group is for England in the Euros? For everyone listening, I will read through the pots. So basically you get one team from every pot. So there's 4 pots. In pot number 1, there's all the winners. So you've got Germany, the host, Portugal, France, Belgium, Spain, and England. In pot number 2, you've got Hungary, Turkey, Denmark, Albania, Romania, and Austria. Pot number 3, Netherlands, Scots, Croatia, Slovenia, Slovakia, and Czech Republic. And pot number 4, we've got Italy, Serbia, Switzerland, and whoever is in the playoffs. So I guess pot number 1 is us. So we go on to pot number 2, where we're taking Hungary, we're taking Turkey, Denmark, Albania, Romania, or Austria.
It's got to be, I don't know, Albania, Romania, probably.
I'd say Romania,
yeah. I mean,
Austria,
Romania,
Denmark,
they finished above Switzerland, though. I mean, do we count these qualifiers too much? Like, they're not major tournaments, are they? Like, England go undefeated every time, and then we get to a major tournament. Everyone's like, oh, that's what builds up our hopes. We have such a good qualifying process. So like, Romania went undefeated.
Like, Italy scraping through is wild, but they're still going to turn it up in the tournament, you know? Like,
yeah, it seems they're one of them teams out there. It's like a Madrid in Champions League. Even if they're struggling and they've got a couple players out, like, them teams just somehow in the big tournaments, unlike us, just turn it up. So I guess Albania, Romania?
Yeah, I mean, probably. Denmark
or Albania.
Denmark, Austria. I just feel like those, even Hungary, they've got like the occasional like just big game in them.
My boy Sobo. Szoboszlai, he's a problem, man. I was telling you boys months ago when he's a serious problem. Scored 2 bangers the other week. Don't know if you saw it where he makes one dude and then put it in top bins.
I think
he's looking really strong.
Turkey are also a pretty strong team. I mean, I don't know if you saw the controversy with because obviously their first team goalkeeper is Binder, who's our like backup goalie, United's backup goalie.
All right.
And he basically was interviewed and said that his favorite ever player goalie is Edwin van der Sar, and Van der Sar just replied saying, essentially said, "You're not as good as Onana." Like in a reply, just absolutely sat him down.
That's a bit out of the blue, though, isn't it?
Apparently, he's fuming about it. I would be too. He was just like, he basically was like, "Yeah, I think Onana is better than you, and when I'm at Old Trafford, like, you will know why." I was like, "Bro, what?"
Would he even saying he were better than Onana? His statement wasn't even saying he were.
He just said, "My favorite goalie of all time is Van der Sar," and Van der Sar just claps him up. Like, what? Why?
Good. That's good.
Wow.
All right, so I guess we'll go on to pot number 3, boys. We have got Netherlands. This could be some huge groups in this Euro. We've got Netherlands, Scotland, who did well to get through, Croatia, Slovenia, Slovakia, and Czech Republic. Some dodgy teams in there. Croatia always turn it up. Slovenia and Slovakia are never easy. Same with Czech Republic. The Scots will be up if we draw them in the same group. And then Netherlands, same again. They've not really been the same team that they've been, in the last few years. But who are we taking? I guess we've got you, Jaden. What are you thinking, bro?
All right. I would say Slovakia, probably.
Yeah.
They're probably further down there. Scotland, they could always do something against England, Always.
Yes.
They get well hyped up for it. The one game.
Yeah. Even if they lose all the other games, even if they know they're out, they'll be up for us.
Yeah, McTominay hat-trick. Already seen it.
Why is he always tear it up for Scotland and not you?
He's going to body Jude. It's going to be embarrassing. No, I never want Croatia. Netherlands have been on a bit of a slide, but you never really want to count them out. They've got some absolute banging players.
Yeah.
So,
Xavi Simons, have you seen him? Young kid.
He looks good this year.
Yeah. He plays for Leipzig on loan, but he's done it right. I think his sort of path. PSV, he gets game time, goes to PSG, then loans out to Leipzig. He hadn't been one of them that made that big step up and then sat on the bench for a couple of years to kind of ruin his career. But and then pot 4, this is where it gets stacked as well. Italy, Serbia, or Switzerland, and obviously we got some of the playoff teams. I think Georgia are in there. I think Ukraine are in there. Israel, Finland, Luxembourg, some teams like that. But I guess we'll focus on the 3 that are actually there right now: Italy, Serbia, and Switzerland. Obviously,
those 3 are stronger than any of the pot 3 teams. To be honest,
pot 3,
and the pot 2. That's the strongest pot except for pot 1.
It's going to be an interesting Euros, man.
It will.
Yeah, you don't want Italy, do you? Whoever gets Italy's in group of death instantly. That's just.
There could be a couple groups of death looking at these lineups, and the Italians haven't been the same. But like we said, they beat us in final and then don't even qualify for World Cup next year after. So it's.
I think they've been going through a rebuild. To be honest, their pool of players have really, really gone down. They've had a lot of people, retire, a lot of injuries. And I think that they're in a rebuild stage, but still, you never know with them. You never know.
And the Napoli manager makes a difference. He left Napoli after he did a serious job with them. Gone to be in charge in the Italian squad. And he turned around last couple of games. They struggled, and then last couple of games he turned around, which says a lot because Napoli have I think they've just fired their. I don't remember his name, but they've just fired the manager that they had because they hadn't had the same impact that they had last season. Even with keeping, Cavaradonna and Osimhen up top, they've kept the best players and still not had a great start. All right, boys. So, there you go. That is the Euro groups that we'll be looking for. Obviously, you're looking for the easiest group. But sometimes I think we turn it up more against the bigger teams. I think, like we've seen against Malta and Macedonia. Sometimes I don't know whether it's, I don't know how to say it, but you just don't take them as serious. Sometimes we need, I guess, the bigger teams. Like Germany last time was only sort of real test we've had in the knockouts of the last 2 tournaments.
I don't think we've had too hard of a we haven't had too hard of a draw, to be honest, the last couple of tournaments. So we've got that, when far. People
say, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but people say Southgate, he's done such a great job. But when you look at the like you said, the qualifying games that we had, it's like Sweden, Ukraine, Colombia. The only really ones were the Germans, and then Croatia beat us in the semis, and then got dicked by France in the final. So I'm like, you give any manager that run of games with our team, they should be at least getting to the semi and final.
Every last tournament we've had easy runs. Let's be real. And I think as soon as we come up against like top 10 type team, Croatia is always a bogey team for us. But as soon as we come up against a top 10 team, we play well in certain aspects, but we just play too defensive, too nervous, and even if we do play well, we just struggle tactically. Basically, once it comes down to tactics, we have nothing in the tank. It's not that we're bad or anything. It's just purely that, and then we're just under the cosh for 30 minutes. That's why it was so terrible when we got 3-minute goal Luke Shaw against Italy, because it was okay, now we've literally just got to defend for 94 minutes, and because we're never going to get a second goal.
Well, that's the mentality, isn't it? It's Southgate, I feel is that. It's if we go ahead, then we're happy trying to defend what we have, rather than we've got some of the best attacking players on the planet. You know what I mean? Well, let's push for that second and then do it. It's that mentality of how we're set up to play. He's always playing 2 CDMs, sometimes 5 at the back. Yeah, I mean, we spoke a lot about Southgate and England in the past, so I guess we'll move on from England. We don't want to spend too much time on that. We'll go to anyone see the Mad Game. We're filming this on Wednesday, so the Mad Game last night, Brazil, Argentina, big South American derby.
Mad.
If you are not
aware, down there.
I know, love a scrap, man. If you are not aware, they delayed the kickoff by 30 minutes. So basically what happened was there was a brawl in the stands. Whether they tried making extra money from ticket sales, they somehow ended up with Argentina fans and Brazil fans seated super close together with no separation. So there were a lot of kickoffs, and then the coppers got involved and started going at the Argentina fans, which then kind of forced them back more into the Brazilian fans. The Argentina players during the national anthem noticed, walked over to see what's happening, and then basically walked off the pitch to refuse to play, which delayed kickoff. We weren't sure whether we were going to see the game, but you boys seen any videos?
Emi Martinez starting on the box. Man's grabbing a police baton.
I guess he's a hero. He's a hero in Argentinian papers.
Argentina to North London to Brum. Man's just roadman pure, through and through.
Yeah, pretty bad teams. I saw some bad injuries, a lot of cut up heads. It's not what you want to see, to be honest. It's not what you want to see.
I mean, it's tough. You're always going to have that with. I think even the last meeting, they only played a few minutes, didn't they? I don't even know whether they actually got that one out. But it's just you always got to kind of expect it. But whoever's done that ticket sales of somehow putting them together. How there's no segregation or no separate, we have that in normal football between all fans, but in one of the most heated South American derbies, there's got to be someone up there has made a huge mistake. Whether there's a penny pinch, something's gone wrong there that should have been allowed to happen.
It's South America, they just get in, give me the money, get in.
Yeah, well, like that. What we're talking last week. If you don't know, go check out the episode. We're talking about a Serie A Brazilian game where they played at a local stadium. They had no boundaries of security, and once again ran on the pitch for a massive brawl. I guess sticking with Brazil and Argentina, obviously what we view as 2 of the best teams in the world. Marcelo Bielsa, my man, the god of Leeds,
Wait, hold on.
record.
before we get to Bielsa, I got a little story from the Brazil Argentina
Oh shit!
game.
Yeah, fire away, man.
So
Fire away.
it was quite an interesting scenes here. So I'm in Colombia at the moment, and I was out at a bar, and so little history lesson. At the moment in Colombian politics, right, the president isn't very popular. There's been a lot of inflation, a lot of, I don't know, him flying private helicopters to games or whatever. So literally every Colombian game recently, the whole stadium has been chanting like "Fuera Petro," which is like Petro out, basically like get rid of the president, essentially. And so it's been a bit of drama during the game where they won 2-0. His daughter or something left the stadium or something when they were like chanting against him or whatever. So it's been a bit of a controversy. He's not that popular, especially in this contrast with Colombia doing pretty well. First beating Brazil for the first time in qualifiers, pretty much like I think it's ever in the first time in qualifying with that Luis Diaz brace. Anyway, so during the Brazil Argentina game, Colombia just beat Paraguay 1-0, and then Brazil Argentina, all the fans are still in the bars, still drinking, having fun, having a few beers. The president decides now is a great time to interrupt all broadcasts with a speech. So they just cut out the middle of the game in like the first half, and man just starts giving a speech, and everyone is just going mental. They are just so pissed off. It was so funny. I was like, bro, you so out of touch? You just decide, yeah, let me just go on a little speech about the country and what we're doing in the middle of like one of the most important like rivalry games. Like, I just thought it was absolutely hilarious.
Fuming, man. That seems to be done on purpose, though, doesn't it? It's like everyone's. It's got such a cult following, like everyone's watching it. So in their mind, it's probably like this is the best time to do it because everyone's looking at the screens. You know what I mean? It's not during like Colombian Coronation Street or anything like that. It's through actually one of the big games.
Yeah, Colombian curry. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
but
mad,
yeah, that's I thought that was ridiculous. So ridiculous. But yeah, anyway, let's get back to old Bielsa with his
so Bielsa
record.
Obviously a Leeds god. Has gone down in history already there. Setting a record in his first 5 games, beating Brazil and Argentina. He's obviously not lost in his first 5 qualifiers. Been there a few months. Madness. Like I don't think that's ever been done, or it's not been done in that short of a time. It's probably took years to beat both of them, like 2 of the biggest South American teams. Like, they look a real problem now, Uruguay, especially at World Cup. Like the way he plays, the way he's got them working, real intense. They've got some good players. Nunes seems to be firing up top as well. I guess we'll lead that into, did Leeds make a mistake letting him go?
Well, where did it all go wrong? To be honest, it was going so well, and then kind of just didn't link together, and then did the club not want to take the risk? And because he's very stubborn, it's his way or no way.
Yeah. So basically, if you know Bielsa, when he goes to, he rarely spends more than a couple of years at every club that he goes to, and he takes over every team. So what you don't realize, he takes over like the under-23s, the under-21s. He has like a coach and everything, but he basically oversees everything. He implements the style of play so that when they're young, that they are already ingrained in that style of play and that energy and that fitness to then go into the next teams. But yeah, I guess from there, for me, it's the backing. He got us promoted with basically what I'd consider a mid-table championship side. Any other manager was struggling to get anywhere near the playoffs with that side. He comes in, don't really make any signings, gets us in the playoffs. First year we go out, obviously, with a controversial to Derby, and then next year gets us promoted and gets 9th, was it 9th or 10th, sorry, in his first year at the Premier League. So that for me, after it, is like, okay, well, he's done all this, he's got your 9th in Premier League, which is mad in your first season. Then everyone knows once you get to the Premier League, then you got to spend money. And he seems to be someone that, like, he only wants the players that he wants. He has specific players that we can see now have sort of blown up. In the Championship, we nearly got DePaul, Obviously, we're at Udinese, and now he's a big part of the Argentinian squad. We had Cunha, who's now playing at Wolves. He's doing decent. Nandez, who plays for him in the Uruguay team, is a versatile player, but he has specific players that he wants. And for some reason, they were always like a couple mil short or just didn't get the deal over the line. So I feel like he was kind of given a bad hand. Like, you're trying to stay in the Premier League with a mid-table championship side.
Yeah, I think he didn't really get backed. And I think also the players he did get, I think really you struggled in terms of like the defense. There were certain key players who were just not good enough. And, you had like Rafinha and like Jack Harrison and like players who were creative. There was goals in this team. It was dynamic, but there was just like, it would be like score 6 but concede 6, And I think he just didn't really get backed in the right way. And then, but the thing is, I guess decisions around managers been really weird for me. Like, it was like Marsh got fired basically just as he was starting to like get his team playing the way he wanted. And it was like, okay, now fire him, and what? Like, for who? And
they didn't have a
then
sell.
he got relegated. And it just made no sense to me, really. So yeah, I don't really know what's going on.
Well, you can play like everyone goes at him a lot of times. I saw like Carragher and that, and all the pundits were going at him. Like, they say it's great when it works. You know what I mean? When you score 4 or you win a game. Like, we cause problems for a lot of big clubs, but then when you concede in 5 or 6 a game, I'm like, well, that's because teams they've been given a year to figure you out. And also, if you haven't got any different players or different, like, that system would have worked. If we'd invested in a couple of positions, that system would have probably, we'd have probably wouldn't have even been near relegation, because the way he plays is like, some days you'll get 3 points from scoring 4, and then you'll lose a game from conceding 5, but we'll get enough points we're not one of them teams that are going to sit back against the big teams and try grind out a draw or get a point. Like, he's like, we'll give it a go. So then you'll grab enough 3 points to keep you up in my perspective. Like, if we'd have just given him a little bit of sort of backing in the transfer window, which he did enough for us. And obviously the more that goes on behind the scenes that we might not know. But I do think if we kept Bielsa and give him some decent signings, that we wouldn't have been where we are now.
I agree. And, with him, like I said before, you're all in. The club has to go all in. He controls all the teams. I heard that his wife is an architect, and she was like controlling, the building of the new new building within the club, and he was like, no, I want this like plug socket over here. He's very, very detailed and controlling.
Yeah.
I also did love his interviews after the game. His interpreter had a tough job. He would
and he speaks English. That's the funny thing. He speaks English.
That's the best thing. He would go on and on and on. The interpreter said, yeah, we played well today. And that was it.
It's class. It's class, because
it was
like,
so good.
We know, and he knows full well that he understands all the questions and he can reply in English. But he's just like, and he looks down, just.
And sometimes I'm pretty sure he looked at the interpreter and was like, "Is that all you want to say?" Like, I said far more than that. It's like, what? Come on. But he chose not to speak. He's choosing not to speak in English. He was a great character for the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I think he sort of turned Leeds into, whether you hated us because of historic rivalries or for whatever reason, like he seemed to turn a lot to Leeds into basically everyone's kind of favourite second team. Like, they were kind of rooting for you because it was just an entertaining game to watch. You knew watching a Leeds game, it could be 5-1 either way, or like, it was just
every game every week was worth watching. Like, it was always. You don't have
a Burnley or a Norwich or that are like a Sheffield United that are going to try scrape a point. You knew this team was going to give it a go against whoever.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I wish him all the best at Uruguay. I think he's a great fit for them. I really do. I think they could be a serious problem with the players they've got. Like we said, Nunes up top, Palestri, they look serious problem. He should probably get more time for you boys. I guess going from Leeds, we have to talk on Everton getting deducted 10 points. Obviously, Leeds, Burnley and Leicester are going to look to sue him. over problems that, if they had 10 points deducted earlier or when it actually happened, that none of them teams might have got relegated. Thoughts on Everton? Points deduction,
Oof.
what we're saying?
It's a big one. They failed the profit and sustainability rules in the Premier League. It's a 105 million pound loss over 3 years that they need to keep. So, and it's a rolling 3 years. So every year, it's within the last 3 years, they cannot lose 105. Brought in to keep teams, in check, stable. And yeah, I think they were over by 19.5 million. So they lost 124.5 million. And their actual losses were over 300 million. I was looking into this. But they had 180 million of deductions, from you get deductions for building the new stadium as one of them, investing in the youth and charities, etc. So they spent a lot of money, and I think 10 points is harsh for one charge. And I think the Premier League probably set a bit of a precedent there, saying, look, this cannot be. We cannot go ahead and we need to follow the rules.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
I mean, 19 mil don't really seem like a lot. We know they're probably going to appeal, and the appeal is basically what you were saying. They're going to try and get more deductions from that, so it basically doesn't seem like they've overspent by 90 mil. That is basically what the appeal is going to be, that they're going to try and get some more deductions taken away from, I think, like the involvement of COVID and anything. If people don't know, this is something that happened in 2021, I think 22, and how the Premier League deals with it, they do it in like 3-4 year periods. So that is why now we're at the end of this period, and now it's coming into fruition that the team is getting minus points, which seems strange because I guess when you look at Burnley, Leeds and Leicester, it's tough, isn't it? Because Burnley were the first, when it actually happened, the year that it happened, Burnley got relegated. We were close. And it's like, well, can you charge them the same year it's happened, like 6 months later, and deduct them the points? That's not how the system works. But then the next year, it's like, do you deduct the points the next year, which then saves maybe Leeds and Leicester, makes it a totally different game. It's tough. And then you go on to the other teams. It's like you say, maybe they've used this as a showing, because then you've got other teams like Chelsea. They've got charges for how they're dealing with transfers. So if Everton are getting minus 10 points for overspending by 19 mil, Chelsea have done some serious dodgy deals, and then we go on to City, who have got 115 charges. So if you get 10 points,
I was going to say, minus, Everton is one charge. City is 115 charges, and I think the reason that people have been saying, why is it taking so long for anything to happen with City, and Everton's reasonably quick. I think they started investigating everything from City for the last 4 years, and it hasn't even gone to the commission stage. So the Premier League puts a report through, and then an independent panel then issue the charge. So in this point, it's 10 points deduction to Everton. So it hasn't even gone to that panel yet with City, because there's so much going back so many years, and it's just a long process. And I'm pretty sure they're paying a very, very good lawyer to wrap the Premier League up and try and get things cut out. But I think one of the charges for City was not reporting the payment to the manager correctly with Mancini. So it goes back all the way back to Mancini. So if and when that comes up, I'm very interested to see what happens.
It just feels like it's unfair on Everton, because I don't know. My opinion is nothing's going to happen to City or Chelsea. They're too big, and it's just, what, you're going to make Haaland play in League Two? It's not going to happen. They're going to buy their way out of it somehow or whatever. And it just seems like really harsh, really, to Everton. 10 points for 19 mil. That's just nothing in today's day and age, I mean, if you're going to have the rules, sure, you should enforce them, but they're not going to get enforced equally. So
I think you need to look at the other. Yeah, sorry. I think you need to look at the other teams like Burnley, Southampton that went down, Leeds that went down eventually. they follow the rules, and they got relegated, and that 19 million could be, equivalent to the points that you need to stay up if you get
And
the players.
also, sorry boys, I don't mean to cut you off, but Everton, they went to the Premier League. So when it happened, it was a couple of years ago, and they actually went to the Premier League and said, "I think we're in trouble here. Basically, can you give us the steps to make sure that we don't basically cause any infringements, or we're not getting any future charges?" The Premier League then told Everton, and Everton didn't do it. So, like you're saying, it's harsh, obviously, because of the other teams involved, but Everton were also given that warning from the Premier League. Like, they had a discussion, and Everton chose to basically ignore it. So, if you are a lower end team, you can make them risks. If you were a City or a Chelsea, like you say, you get the best lawyers, and you've got loopholes that you can find. Like, City got charged by UEFA, and it's like 10 mil or something, which is nothing to them. But so that's a huge fine compared for what they did. You know what I mean? It's nothing to them.
Yeah.
So, but then, like we're saying about Leeds, Leicester, Burnley, complaining that they could have been relegated, which is massive financially. You don't obviously get the TV rights and everything. But then you look at the league titles. Do we open basically that kind of worms? Because if City have been doing this for the last however long, Mancini 7-8 years, I'm like, then are Liverpool going to start filing lawsuits? Be like, we should have won the league that season, or like, how deep do we go with this? Or is it just going to be an absolute mess?
I think you do have to equally enforce it, but also I do think like points deductions is kind of like, okay, for whatever Everton did, sure, yeah, but like I think just automatic relegation should just be should be on the table, really. Like you've got to give enough of a kind of, I don't know, enough of a punishment that other teams are going to not do it, and it's if you're going to have these rules at all. Otherwise, just don't have the rules. Just like, what's the point?
Yeah, you got to enforce them.
Yeah,
you have to enforce them.
But like, if anything as well, like if you didn't have, if you didn't have the rules, you just like every team's just going to outcompete each other, and it's just going to be how it is. But I just think it's a difficult scenario. But I would say I don't think they're going to get enforced equally. So just get rid of the rules, really.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it though, like nobody, you don't want a 10 points deduction. You obviously brought the rules, but is there a better season it could have happened for them? You think they've been struggling the last couple of seasons? If they'd have got minus 10 points the last two seasons, they'd have been down easily. I'm like, this season it looks like they might even stay up with that 10 points deduction. So like,
I think it's come at a great time for them. Their form's like going up. They're playing some good football. Sean Dyche has made them pretty solid, and they're not last. Also, they're not last. They've had a 10-point deduction, and they're not. They're sitting 19th, so they have a really good chance to get up.
Sheffield, you got the worst teams. No offense to anyone that's part in, but it's the worst teams we've had in a long time in the Prem.
Luton aren't even in the bottom three at the moment as well.
Oh yeah. Well, have you got the bottom three there? If you just want to tell everyone.
Yeah. There's Burnley on 4 points. Everton are on 4 points. I guess this is post deduction, and Chef on 5 points. Luton on 6.
Okay.
See, everyone had Burnley as the one that probably. You've always got one of the championship teams that come up and do all right, finish mid-table or get close to the top 10. Everyone had Burnley, I think, under Company, and Luton and Chef. I think either way are going to really struggle. But Burnley, by the looks of it, I don't know where.
Burnley are on one win, 1 draw, and 10 losses. Burnley at the moment. That's strong.
I think Burnley had one of the toughest opening games, though, didn't they? Like, on paper, I think they had. I know, yeah, you
was opening 12 games.
Jeez, crap. Get Bielsa in, man. Get Bielsa, and he'll sort you out.
They're only okay. So they have their 1 win and their 1 draw, right? So their only win is against Luton. So, not going great.
6-pointer.
Big 6-pointer. And then a draw against Forest. That's
Unreal.
Yeah.
So
not right.
I don't know if I read it right, but I think Leicester, Burnley, and Leeds are going to try and sue for the Premier League for
Yeah. Trying to
this.
see whether
Or
whether I'll come of that,
are
whether
they
you get
are they
financial
are they
because
are they suing Premier League or Everton?
no, I think Everton, which
Everton.
then comes in because if they get sued, then I don't know whether Everton could go into like administration. If it all does go through, it might kind of even get worse for Everton, which is tough. But you do think, like you say, the home form, the team they've got, I think Goodison now is going to be a tough place. I mean, it's tough anyway, but I think something about going there now. They've got this like chip on the shoulder. It's going to be a little,
Yeah.
little more to deal with.
Yeah, of course we got them next. We got them
Oh
this weekend. Of
yeah,
course.
that's going to be a
Always.
game,
We
man. That's
always
gonna be a
have
game.
this. We always get a team after some bullshit goes down and then they turn it up. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That's class.
Have you seen the construction of the new Everton Stadium as well?
No, that was...
There's right at the top, in America they call them nosebleeders. It's like this. They're super super steep. It's like Camp Nou.
Oh, they are pretty steep.
Crazy steep.
Yeah.
It looks insane. I don't know how many
It does
seats
look
it
pretty
is, but
Is there a reason
it
for
looks-
that, or just
I guess their design, they didn't have much space, but it looks pretty insane if you can get a
squeeze
spot.
an extra few people in?
Yeah, you got to squeeze them in between the council
God,
flats.
stand up, just leaning over, just. That's mad. That's mad. Anyway, I guess sticking. We'll move on from that. You could talk about that all day, and obviously, City charges and other teams. I'm sure there's plenty of other teams that have had problems in the past. I do know. Was it Sheffield United? They have had something similar against a team a few years ago. I was listening to the rest is football, like Lineker, and they were saying Sheffield United actually got compensation a few years ago for something similar. So there might be hope for Burnley, Leicester, and Leeds. Obviously, a Leeds fan, you don't know.
It's only happened twice, I think, that people have got points deductions. One was Middlesbrough not actually putting a team out, and the other was Portsmouth for going into administration, 9 points. So a team going into administration got 9 points. They had a nightmare. And then a 19 mil overspend for Everton gets 10 points. It's pretty harsh. It is quite harsh.
Like you see, keep that same energy though. Whether they will, because it's the big teams, who knows? But maybe that's a precedent now that if anyone steps out of line, it could be really costly. That's what they've got to do.
What I don't want to see is what happens in Italy. You know, when you get a deduction and then they get it overturned, so the teams like jumping up and down the table like crazy.
Like Juventus had that last year.
Like Juventus, exactly. Yeah, that can't happen. That's just
it has to be set in stone. Like do it. Yeah, do it. Then do the appeal, and then I guess after the appeal, be like, all right, it's this or this. Like they say minus in 10, and then in 2 months' time, once the appeal's gone through, whatever, and then they get plus 10, and then someone else is in the relegation zone, you'd be fuming. All right, so moving on, boys. We have now found out that teams are actually now allowed to basically cooperate and sign players from any European or foreign teams that are actually under the same ownership. So, for example, with Jim Ratcliffe coming in from Nice, I guess United could maybe do some deals with Nice over that. But the main one we probably going to talk about is Newcastle. So their owners are obviously the big Saudi owners, and they actually own pretty much Al Nassr, Al Hilal, I think, all the big Saudi league teams, which you've got Ronaldo, Neymar, Neves, all them sort of players under the same ownership. So that means they can loan them players basically in January when they need them, which is huge because you think Tonali's out for 10 months. Now, instead of having to go spend a load of money, they could just bring someone in from Saudi League, which we know is stacked, just for a couple of months to fill that void. Any thoughts on that? Do we think that's a good way forward, that we can have these sort of deals now with the same ownership? So,
the thing that shocked me was how many clubs have like kind of sister or brother clubs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Forest, Sheffield as well. Like clubs, I was like, what? How do these got like other owned clubs? I was like, okay. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised it's not like been more of an issue. I thought there was going to be some stuff happening with City and like New York City FC and like rumors that there was things going to happen and loans and stuff in the past. So surprised it hasn't happened already, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's just another avenue of corruption, isn't it? Really, but it's just kind of more corruption that we don't really need, but it's going to happen anyway because FIFA.
Yeah. And sorry, for the people that don't know as well, they basically, when stuff like this happens, the Premier League, their associates from each club basically get in a meeting. They take a vote on it, pretty much. Now, what happened is, I think they needed 14 votes against it, and they had 13. So there was one vote away from this not being accepted, which also in itself seems kind of sketched, doesn't it? That was just so close, but it's a family. Oh, sorry. And then suddenly these clubs again that are in maybe dire need can have that extra help.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a bit scary. It's I thought it was pretty inevitable, to be honest, that vote, because there's probably 14 teams. Well, there's probably enough teams in the league that have the sister clubs that they can take advantage of it. So I don't know if that voting system works, in terms of that.
Yeah.
But I think fans will be there'll be a bit of an uproar if that does happen. Like if Newcastle get Neymar and Neves in January, I don't think people will stand for it.
Just for it, yeah. That's what I mean. Bring Ronnie in for a couple of months just to end the season, just to.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, there's a lot of links though. So I guess can them lower league teams sort of take advantage of that? I know Palace. A lot of them got French teams, Palace and Lyon. I think Leeds a few years ago with Radrier Zani had like Sampdoria, and we had a few connections through there, which have probably helped us out for championship teams. If you've got a big sort of European outfit that can sort of help you out as well, that is huge. I don't know whether it counts for the championship side or EFL, because EFL are totally different.
I do think they need to bring in something, because it's potentially a bypass for financial fair play as well. The Saudi team can put the bill, and then Newcastle loan in. Doesn't cost you anything. You have a free player.
Yeah.
So there must be something that needs to come in, a new rule, or I don't know how they're going to do it, but they must be looking at that.
I think they said they're going to it probably be implemented maybe next season, but that means you've got a whole rest of this season and January coming up that a lot of teams can take advantage of that.
How's it going to get voted for next season? Because United didn't vote for it because at the moment we don't have any like sister teams or whatever. But next season we're going to have Ratcliffe, which means Nice, which people are already talking about that. Everton supposedly getting bought out by owners who own Sevilla, so they're going to be on it as well. It's going to accumulate, and there's going to be more teams who aren't going to be wanting it because it's going to be beneficial to them. Because it's not against other Prem teams; it's against the teams in lower leagues, basically. Because it's like, oh well, yeah, if you own like I don't know some randos. I don't know, Plymouth Argyle, like, who are they partnered with? Like, I don't know, maybe some team out here in Colombia, who knows? Like, it's Pie Face's FIFA squad, maybe. Get some Alma team players on loan.
You see him kicking off against Leeds players. I saw a video, like, someone had, obviously media, someone had clipped him. He was having a chat with a Leeds fan, and then someone said something, and someone had just filmed the part where they're, like, having a back and forth. Obviously, typical media. But does that work for other teams? Like you're saying, that connection with Sevilla, like, does La Liga have to pass that so then Sevilla can do it backwards? Or is it like you can take all the players from one club, but it doesn't work in return? You know what I mean? Newcastle can take all these Saudi players, but then the Saudi teams can't take any Newcastle players. Like, do we know how that works?
I suppose it would be up to the other domestic leagues. Like, so I think that vote that was done just now, I think that's one-way streaming, and I guess the other way, I don't know the rules the other way, but that either if it's not, they could try and pass the same rule.
Like you're saying, you have Sevilla, and then like the owners are just talking and allowing out Sevilla players to go whatever. I'm like, hang on a minute. Like we're giving you all this, and we're not getting anything back, and we're not getting.
think,
You know, what I'm saying you're not getting big transfer fees or anything for it. We're
I
just
think
helping you out.
I think the solution really is to implement some like loan rules. Because we've seen it for like years where Chelsea just like buy up every single child in England and then just like loan them out to like everywhere. It's kindergarten over in like West London. Like, what's going on? Like, they've been kind of taking the piss for far too long with that. That's just ridiculous. And I think that also really like hurts a lot of the development of younger players too, when they're just kind of in this like weird, oh yeah, well I'm getting paid loads because I'm like at Chelsea, but I'm not really at Chelsea, So yeah, I think some loan rules, maybe capping the amount of loanees you can send out and receive, and maybe how much that can be as well, like on terms of wages, stuff like that. Some kind of rules in there, but then again, it's like, oh, loopholes. How do we, the more rules,
It's always
the
gonna
more
be,
loopholes they make.
Always going to be. They're always going to try their luck at whatever they can.
Yeah, people are always going to find a way around whatever kind of rule you implement, aren't they? Especially the bigger teams and the higher ups, or the masters at it, man. So I guess moving on from that, we'll stick with the Saudi League, I guess. Scheduled, it's in talks. Miami have denied that it's actually going to be a thing, but apparently in February we might have Inter Miami against Al Nassr, meaning Lionel Messi versus CR7 one last time. It's kind of maybe a nice send-off for the fans and the players, but what we're thinking, do we want to see it?
I think make it happen. Why not? People want to see it, so give it to them. It's a bit of fun. I think more things like that should happen. I would be a big fan of All-Star Prem versus All-Star La Liga. I think that'd be interesting to see. Those kind of games. I think more and more of that will be coming in.
Yeah, would you like to see? I'd quite like to see like an All-Star game, like at the World Cup or something. You do like an All-Star game. That would never work, but like that would be pretty fun,
like if you're talking about, like, you look at these international games now where players are traveling and then they're basically playing, like Gavi. Gavi's done his ACL and his meniscus in a game Spain had already qualified. He didn't need to play. Spain had already qualified. So Barca are fuming. I'd be even more fuming if I lost my star player because he was playing a World 11, best 11. Like, there were no relevance to the game apart from let's just sell a load of tickets and make a lot of money. But I'm like, if you've got all the best players on one pitch and they're all kicking each other, and
isn't that not what you want to see though? Isn't that not what everyone wants to see? The best 22 players in the world play against each other.
You'd have to do it. Just do it in middle, like when there's no, I guess, competition in middle of summer or something. Just something random. Just not in middle of season where it can ruin players' seasons, or just right at end or something like. It's kind of like charity matches though.
Like, maybe not like a full game. Maybe just like a 5-a-side FIFA Street, like a little futsal, a beach futsal tournament with like the best players.
Bro, I was watching highlights today of when Neymar was 19, he played for Santos, and Ronaldinho was like 32, played for Flamengo. And if you watch the highlights of that game, it finished like 4-3, and they both like get a hat trick. It's insane. It is so good. I was like, why have I never seen this before? Neymar scores like 3, Santos are like 3-0 up, and then Ronaldinho scores like 4 goals. It's unbelievable. He like slots in a free kick under the wall. Oh, it's like both of them. It's like passing on that torch.
Yeah, unreal. I need to go watch the highlights for that.
Oh, it's class. It's sad that Neymar, I don't think, people are saying obviously he's one of the best of our generation, which he is. I don't think he lived up to the hype. I think we maybe covered that, didn't we? Just sad he was meant to be the next one to take over the mantle. It just seems like never for me. PSG seemed like a bad move for him.
It is a bad. I don't think his head was in it fully, football. Yeah. I don't know if you watched his documentary movie or whatever. It's basically not about football at all. It just talks about him. So I'm like, no wonder. No wonder.
But that his dad's like, he's the one that does all the deals, doesn't he? So if it don't work for his dad, like financially, and his family, like we don't realize, like when he goes to PSG and all these squads, like half the negotiations is not him, whether he's playing for a certain amount playing football. It's how much you giving his family behind him and setting them up, pretty much, because they're the ones that are kind of acting as his agents, and it's strange.
Yes,
Strange
sad,
situation,
really.
isn't it? But Messi, Ronaldo, let's do it, man. Let's have it's a send off for them. It's a send off for us for basically watching them for years. Maybe do we get another World Cup, or I don't know. You know, is Ronaldo gonna? How's Ronaldo now? 38. 30. He's knocking on it. Might have to go.
If any, I don't know. If anyone could want to do it, I see Ronaldo trying. I could see him trying to go to another World Cup, but just.
I'm going to say
Messi's still tearing it up, isn't he, for Argentina? Like, but the World Cup's another couple of years away.
Yeah,
I'm going to say Ronaldo probably will make it. I think he has it in him. Unless he gets really badly injured, I think he'll keep going.
Yeah, I think so too.
Maybe one more, but do we want to see that? Because obviously they're not at. Like by the time the World Cup comes around, like they're not going to be that player that they were. You know, Ronaldo's going to be 40. And Messi's going to be 38 or 37 or whatever. Like, should they both be? When have we ever seen a 40-year-old play in the top European squads? If he's not a goalkeeper like Barthez or something, like rarely do we see a 40-year-old.
Yeah,
and the strikers Portugal have got like.
Yeah, he doesn't get in the team.
Yeah,
like at that point.
It's tough, isn't it? It's nostalgia.
He shouldn't do. He shouldn't do, but I think he will.
Yeah,
He
just will. He'll get in the team. He'll score a couple of pens.
Yeah, I mean, for them two players, it seems like their legacy's kind of they can't really tarnish it. Like the legacy's there, innit? You know, the two of the greatest ever, if not the best. Have we ever had this like rivalry between two players? Like it's there, it always will be there. So it's like nothing they can really do now is gonna tarnish it before we like just retire. It's like a UFC fight, but like please retire before you start going downhill or getting knocked out all the time. But here, these two can, I guess, play for as long as they want.
They can play for as long as. You know, Ronaldo's looking after himself so well as well. He must have. I don't know how much money he's spending on just looking after his body. It's crazy. And
probably best looking 40-year-old or best in shape 40-year-old you're ever gonna see, man. Before we start turning into AI and robots and shit.
I know. I did hear that he wants to play with his son in the same team.
Wow.
I don't know how old his son is. 13? Maybe if he's pretty good. 3 years.
Yeah, that's if you think he's way ahead, then 18. So yeah, another 5 years means he's 43. It might be.
I wouldn't want to play. I wouldn't want to play with my dad though, even if he were Ronaldo. Like I'd be like, mate, you're old. Go away. Like,
would you rather play on the same team or opposite teams? Would you rather play on the same team?
Opposite.
Sure.
Oh yeah. He's throwing in a leg breaker.
Just snap his ankles. Like Megan Rapinoe his career.
Oh no. All right, boys. So, new segment. We said we're going to introduce this a long time ago. We have got a little parlay for the weekend to celebrate the big leagues coming back. This is probably something that we might do more and more going forward. It is something we do have planned, and we've also got some planned watch-alongs maybe at some point soon. So this is a segment we're going to call Wembley to Wall Street. So we're going to give you boys just basically a long shot parlay. We're not saying this is guaranteed a money maker. It's just a little bit of fun that we're going to do on each episode of just our opinions, pretty much for the weekend games. Now, what we've done, we've created a Premier League parlay where we pick some games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so it covers the full pretty much weekend. Just a little bit of fun. So yeah, we can go through it. So I guess
I want to start with my. My call. Okay, so this is obviously it's on the parlay, but I've got big. Ziggy's hot take is coming in.
Oh yeah. Wait a minute. Let me just tell them. So the parlay boys, you'll be able to find this on any sports book. all the legs are playable anywhere. We actually played on BetMGM just because it turned our parlay from a plus 761 to a plus 1013. So we got a little parlay boost. We're going to probably be looking about that plus 1,000 odds most weeks just to turn that 10 into 100 as a little bit of fun. But yeah, sorry, Ziggy. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just thought I'd give him a little context.
No. All good. So I think the big first game in this is Spurs Villa, both teams to score. I think that game is wide open. There's going to be goals galore in that. I would even go. I don't know what the odds are on but I'd go like an over 3.5, maybe an over 4.5. I reckon I could see a 3-3 or a 4-3 or something coming for this game. I don't know.
4-3.
What do you think, Jaden?
I smell a 4-3 in Tottenham's way. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're going to leak
scorer.
Yeah, I think we're going to leak a few goals, but I think we're still scary up top.
Yeah, that's the thing. You look at.
Sorry, go on. I want to see Lo Celso coming through. I feel like he does have it in him, and now Maddison's gone. There's a bit of a hole, and we didn't fill it last game. It wasn't filled against Wolves. It kind of just played a bit further back, and there wasn't that much creativity. But we need that kind of player. So this could be his chance.
He could fill the void. I've seen him play over in, obviously Spain's a different game as well, but he could definitely. He's that little creative player, can spot things that other players can't see. But yeah, like you say, Spurs. I think the defensive worries should mean that Villa get some chances at least. And obviously Spurs, I think, have scored in pretty much every game this season. So you've got to expect them to score.
Right.
So yeah, and like you say, if they've got some defensive worries, then they're going to have to push at some point or go forward. Because if you think they're going to concede a goal, then they have to push. At some point, I think it is going to open up. Now, that is Sunday's game. That is the leg we've got for Sunday. I'll bring it back and we'll start with the early kickoff on Saturday. Now, if you know my rule, if you don't follow my betting page, UTA_betting2, that's where you find all the good stuff. And we had a decent international break, but we're ready for the big leagues to come back. We have one rule, or two rules: don't bet on England or Leeds, and never play early kickoffs because they can ruin your day before it's even got started. But the problem is here, we've got Man City versus Liverpool, one of the biggest games of the weekend. So us, for this parlay, how can you not play this game? The first leg, we have got City double chance plus over 1.5 total goals. Now, what that means is City to win or draw the game and just 1.5 goals in the game. So 1-1 will do us, 2-0 City. As long as City don't lose and we see 2 goals, we are totally fine. Any thoughts on this one, boys?
It's got VAR and the clock human interview written all over it, isn't it? This game.
Yeah, I think that we have a great chance of that. Great chance of that. I think there might be a red as well. I've got a feeling there's going to be a red card.
Yeah. I mean, two of the best attacking sides in the league, innit? So you've got to think that both have a possibility of finding the net. And City have conceded in most games. I think Liverpool don't look so solid defensively as well. And we've also actually seen the over 1.5 in the last 12 out of 13 meetings. So rarely is this ever an under game. I know Pep is probably going to want to try secure it to not concede 4 again like they did against Chelsea. So there might be a little difference there, but I could see like a 2-1, something like that.
I think a 3-3 is like possible.
Oh, you think it's fine? Yeah, I mean that all cashes for us, man. And also the last time City lost to Liverpool in the league was back in 2015. So 8 years ago was the last time they lost.
Wow.
So I think we've got a decent shout on that one, even though it's the early kickoff. Next one up, we have Newcastle and Chelsea, both teams to score. Obviously, Newcastle got plenty of injuries. Chelsea have finally found a bit of confidence, but we are talking about St James's Park, which is all of a problem. Newcastle have scored in all six home league games this season, and Chelsea have scored in all but 1 away game. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, those stats you just said, I think sum it up. They do have a lot of injuries, Newcastle, but St James's Park, that PSG game,
it's a fortress, isn't it?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. They've got a great chance with that crowd at St James's Park, for sure.
Yeah, I think Newcastle probably gets a goal singular, but I see Chelsea scoring a few, so I think both teams to score on that is a pretty solid parlay bet.
Yeah. All right, next up, we have Bournemouth against Sheffield United. Now we've gone with Bournemouth double chance, meaning as long as Bournemouth don't lose the game to Sheffield away, we are good to go. I think they've finally got some points on the board, and this is kind of like an early 6-point battle. But Bournemouth, I personally think, have got way better quality than Sheffield United. So I do favour them to grab a goal in this one. And like I say, if you grab a goal, it's kind of hard to see them losing for me. I don't really see Chef scoring a couple of goals. So it could be a low-scoring one. But
Solanke brace in the last game against Newcastle as well. So, could be in a bit of
Moore's
form.
not got a shout. Solanke's been tearing it up. Moore got dropped from the Wales squad as well because he's just not got that confidence right now, and he can't get a look in at Bournemouth. I suppose Jaden, we're liking this one. Bournemouth away. They've got, for me, more quality.
They have more quality. The league table speaks for itself, as we said before.
Yeah.
Do you think? I think it's unlikely for Bournemouth to lose. Unlikely. So I think it's a solid bet for this parlay.
All right. On to the next. Now this one could be a little controversial. Some people, I know a lot of people out there are big Arsenal lovers, and they sometimes get blinded by their Arsenal love, in my personal opinion. We've gone Brentford at home over 0.5 goals. Now, the reason for that, Brentford at home, obviously, but I also think Arsenal have had probably more key players in this international break that have had to travel, had obviously a lot more game time, and that can always play into a fact. After the international break, you can get very tired, or you can get lackluster games. So I think Brentford, for the most part, should have a kind of a fresher team. So at home, I do expect them to maybe create some chances, cause some problems. And also Brentford have scored in every single home game so far this season. It seems to be one of them teams that, again, it's a little bit of a fortress. They're a tricky team. Even without Tony, there's still goals in that squad.
They're a very, very good squad, all-rounded squad. Manager's done a great job there. Great job. They always play well at home. They're doing a great job. And all the players seem to perform. I don't know why. It's
one of them. It's a team unit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like there's no player that really is the star man. I mean, Tony is that, but he still works in that unit. It's just one of them like well-oiled teams that like it's tough going there, and they just work even without the star man. Wissa's stepped up and then Bomo's stepped up top. They're just small guys. They've got a lot of rapid players, and then they've got some big physical midfielders for set pieces and long balls. I think, if Arsenal are, if they're lagging a bit, or then big players, they also play a little later. The Brazilians played the last game of the international break against Argentina. So they're the last ones to sort of come home, and that's half of, you got Martinelli and Jesus up top, that's half of their attack. So if they're not firing or they're a little jet lagged or lackluster, I can see Brentford sneaking one.
Yeah, I think most of the Arsenal team have been playing in internationals, and you've got like not a whole lot of the I don't know, a few of the Brentford players too. But I like that. I like over like one goal.
Just one goal.
I see him nicking one.
Anyone can. The thing is with them lines, anyone can start a sneak a goal. We got decent odds for that. It's like in any game you have a bad refereeing decision, you have a penalty, you have VAR. Anyone can sneak a goal in a game. One of my worst bets is to go under 0.5, even if you're playing against the best teams, because anything can just happen for one. It only takes one bad shot or one deflection. So moving on, then we got a Sunday's game, which Ziggy already covered on the Spurs v Villa. I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that one, Jaden. You said it's going to be, what we said, you boys said, what, a 3-3, a 4-3, something like that?
4-3.
Spurs.
4-3, I think.
And ball at its finest.
And ball at its finest. He's all out. He doesn't compromise with his...
I mean, you've got to, when you've got Davies and Dyer at the back, you've got to...
He knows what we got to do. We got to score as many goals as we can.
When's Udogie and Romero back?
Udogie, he misses one. So he missed this one. And Romero's 3, so he's got a couple more left after this game.
Oh, yeah.
Romero's still
Not great.
fighting with Brazilians, so he'll be back in a few months.
He were
He's
in
in the
stands,
scrap,
man.
yeah.
He was in stands. Him and Martinez. All right, boys. And then we move on to the Monday game to finish the parlay. If we do get this far, maybe we sweat it out. We've gone Fulham v Wolves under 3.5 goals. Now, a little bit of context behind this one. The last time this matchup saw 4 goals was in 2017. And yeah, I think Brentford are the only team this season to have an expected goals over 1.5 against Fulham at Craven Cottage. So basically showing that a couple of teams this season have scored 2, but they haven't really been expected to score 2 on the stats. Now, I'm not a big XG lover, but take from that what you will. Both teams are obviously capable of scoring, in my opinion. But I don't think neither team will really want to lose this game. Wolves obviously missing their best attacker in Neto. So I think I'd personally be surprised if we saw 3-1, 2-2. These teams have been a little unpredictable. I'm seeing maybe it should be a low scoring game, even if we do see a couple goals. A 1-1, a 2-1 will do us nicely.
Yeah, I think Fulham have struggled to break teams down and score, really. Even with Jimenez, they've struggled. And then Wolves have been pretty solid defensively, as they have been for kind of many seasons, but also not scoring. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good shout, to be honest.
Yeah, I think both teams fairly solid teams, especially this year. Both mid-table, not too much attacking threat at the moment, so I think it's a good shout.
Wolves have also caught a lot of people off guard. I know a lot of people had Wolves going down in their bottom 3 at the start of the season, which I thought obviously they'd be maybe battling down there as well. You've got Gary O'Neill who left Bournemouth, who's actually doing a better job with Wolves. Nice little revenge story, won it against Bournemouth. But yeah, I think they've caught a few players people by surprise. But it's not a game, a Monday night game. Maybe there is goals. Fulham have been so hit and miss. Some games you had cup games that scored 4 or 5, and then it depends if they're firing on the day. But we are hoping for that under 3.5. So I'll give everyone a little recap of the parlay. We are going on BetMGM. We've got the parlay boosted to plus 1013. Now this is on Wednesday. By the time this comes out on Friday, there might be a slight change of odds. So please don't get annoyed with that. You might get a little more money, a little more juice on that, or you might have to deal with a little less odds, a little less payout. So we've got on Saturday, we have got Man City versus Liverpool. We've got a City double chance and over 1.5 goals in their game. Newcastle, Chelsea, we've got both teams to score. Bournemouth, we have a double chance, meaning we are fine as long as they don't lose to Sheff. Brentford to score 1 goal against Arsenal. Sunday, we've got Spurs v Villa, both teams to score. And then on Monday night, we have Fulham versus Wolves under 3.5 goals. Hopefully, we can at least get a little deep into this parlay. We'll see how that early kickoff goes between City and Liverpool. But yeah, there'll be plenty more of these to come. Anything you boys want to add before we close it out?
I'm going to go for a little hot take. I think Luton are going to beat Palace.
We've missed one. We've missed a couple of hot takes this episode, man.
This is the hot take. Luton are going to beat Palace this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Luton at home?
Yeah.
Is that going to be their first win
Absolute
if they beat
fortress?
Because Eze is back, isn't he? Eze is back. Makes a huge difference in attack for Palace.
It does, but I don't know. They beat Everton, Luton. So
they beat Everton. Okay.
Yeah, they drew with Liverpool. Lost to United.
Unlucky, I think they were against United.
Yeah.
They've
been solid. They've been solid. So I think they're on a little bit of a form, even though that makes no sense because they're 3 losses and 2 draws in 5. But
well, it does. If you watch them play, it always makes a difference. You know what I mean? They drew with Liverpool as well. It's a tough place to go. So
that's my hot take of the week.
Nice. All right, boys. I think we'll wrap it up. Like say, Wembley to Wall Street. Hopefully, we can do decent on our first parlay of the series. There'll be plenty more to come. If you don't already, go follow my betting page, UT_betting2. We have also got a website out, which is a research tool and a cheat sheet designed by your very own Ziggy, which can help with all player props and team props. Just pretty much consolidates all your research into one place, so you're not flicking back and forth from about 4 or 5 apps. If you are into footy cards, I go live on Whatnot a couple of times a week. UT_card collection. I've got an Instagram and a TikTok under the same name. And of course, go follow the podcast on TikTok and on Spotify. That is T and Tackles. Appreciate you boys for being in here. Any likes, shares, comments, subscribes is always greatly appreciated. Appreciate all for listening. Any questions or anything people do want to send in as well, if you are listening, we are open to that and we'll bring them up. Any games you want us to cover. But yeah, thanks for listening and we will catch you next time.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.